Hey everybody, welcome to Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. My name is Reed with Best Made Videos. We are a wedding videography company based out of West Seattle, Washington, and I'm joined today by one of my good friends, Danny Goldfarb of waSOUND. I want to thank you so much for coming in. You seem really excited to be here, so why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do?
Cool, yeah, thanks. I am excited to be here. I'm Danny, and my business is waSOUND. I'm a mobile DJ specializing in weddings and events. Yeah.
And so first off today, I wanted to ask you probably the biggest question of the day. What is the highlight of your year? Is it getting engaged recently or appearing on Get to Know Your Wedding Pro podcast?
Well, they are in close competition, let me tell you. But yeah, man, definitely the highlight of my year has been getting engaged. I recently got engaged about a month ago to the love of my life, Stacy. And I really couldn't be happier. It's crazy though, because now we're trying to plan a wedding for this year. And as you know, there's a lot to planning a wedding. So we basically had to rush, and we want to have it this year because we've known each other like 2.5 years. So it's been a lot. So we've been scrambling. We do have everything pretty much locked down. Not quite yet a videographer lockdown, but pretty much everything else. It's great, man. I'm thrilled. That is the highlight of my year.
Yeah, it's crazy because when Dorothy and I got engaged, I think we did like a 13, 14-month engagement just because of whatever. So you're nuts trying to do it.
Oh,
when
man,
you guys get married?
That's what I wanted to do soon, August 23rd.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, dude. So like literally we're doing it, and it was like 4 months, and it was going to be, we talked about doing it next year. But, you know, we want to do it. We want to buy a house. We want to, maybe have kids soon. And so we didn't really want to stay engaged for that long. I mean, lock the ring down. And also she had known that it was happening for a while. It probably honestly would have happened sooner, 4 months, 5 months sooner. But we started shopping for a ring, and then there was a lot of indecision when it came to getting a ring, but we finally locked something down that we love. We used Green Lake Jewelers and made like a custom thing, and so she knew it was coming because she was involved in the planning process, but couldn't really actually get engaged until we got the ring. So yeah, we're speeding it up.
That was like a week because we got married. So we got married August 6th, and I was like, you do know I'm like a wedding vendor, right? And this is like literally the worst time of year that we.
It's tough. It's tough. We're doing it on a Friday, not a Saturday, so that's good. And I wasn't booked. So locked the date in. And what was great is a lot of my friends that are going to be involved in the wedding, it's also on a Friday. I have a lot of industry friends, so a lot of people will be able to attend that are in the industry. But our photographer and DJ friend of mine were both available, which was the biggest thing.
And then I had contemplated working the day after my wedding, but then my wife talked me out of it. So are you taking off the whole?
I'm currently not yet booked. I don't really want to. I probably won't, because we're going to have family in town, and I think we want to do like a touristy thing. I most likely will not book the event. But, if I get approached, it'll be hard to say no, just because the wedding is expensive and you gotta get that cheddar. But yeah, man, we'll see. Right now, I'm saying 90% no way I'm working the next day.
Yeah, it was really hard for me to turn it down, because I definitely know how to.
Did you do it? Did you work it or no?
No, luckily, so I had another guy then I edited it. So
okay, all right.
So that was nice. So we could still make some money, because I gotta still make some money this week.
That's right. This is an expensive weekend. Yeah, man.
And then the funniest thing, not to talk too much about our wedding, is I actually got an inquiry then on while we were getting married that I emailed back from my reception.
No way.
For September, which was great.
right.
I was like, we gotta
I think I'm going to try to keep my phone not on me.
That's funny. Do you find now, kind of like going through this, is that helping you with like your couples and stuff?
Totally.
And talk about that. And they obviously have to be thrilled kind of that you're all going through.
Absolutely. Totally valid question. It makes me realize how much I actually don't really know. You know, I'm really good at what I do. I can stay in my lane. I know the reception. I know the music. I can deal with the technical aspect of the audio and the lighting. And I know how to work with the vendors as far as at the reception goes, talking to the caterer, talking to the planner, that sort of a thing. But when it comes to everything else involved in the wedding, the decor, you know, how we pick out the food, how we pick out the cake, what the flowers are going to look like, what the centerpieces, who's going to set the centerpieces up, all of these different things that myself as a DJ, I don't really have to know all that when I show up at a wedding to set up, to do my thing. So it has showed me just what I don't know. It's made me appreciate planners a lot more because literally they cover the whole scope of the entire wedding and they have to deal with all of that, maybe in, you know, a little bit of a lighter manner in some of the areas, but they got to know all that stuff. As far as working with my couples, it's actually nice because it's a commonality, right? And so, you know, when I'm talking to them, I can be like, hey, I actually also just got engaged and I know what you're going through now. I can sit on both sides of the table, which is actually great. It gives me more empathy, you know, lets me feel what they're feeling much more.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because I think kind of that empathizing, like I'm in a lot of like videographer groups and stuff, and I see all these people all the time like, you know, I emailed them yesterday and I can't believe I haven't heard back and I'm going to cancel because I don't have, and I'm like, have you guys ever planned a wedding? Like, it's really hard for like you to find time with her to sit down and like go through a contract or read. And so like, for me, that was the biggest thing is when you've never gone through any of that, you're like, well, I look at my email all the time, or what's the holdup?
Totally.
And, you know,
totally.
So you're kind of going through that.
Going through both sides of it. Yeah, man. It's cool.
That's awesome. So I wanted to, well, now more serious, kind of getting into talking. So I was going through your site today.
Great.
I was honestly surprisingly impressed because, you know, like we talked to,
surprisingly impressed.
Let me preface that. So, because, you know, like we met at, you know, Kaylee and Jeff's wedding last year.
Yes.
And, you know, and like I talk with a lot of DJs and talk with a lot of people and stuff. And so like, but going on your site, and I was really impressed with, you know, how well kind of you present yourself, putting, you know, you have videos where we can see and hear what you look like and see you working, and photos and everything really laid out. You know, you show up today with this wonderful waSOUND branded coffee mug, which actually looks really great.
It's who doesn't love a good mug?
We'll have to put a photo of that on Instagram.
It's a bistro mug with a matte black finish with a white waSOUND logo and a white inside of the mug.
It looks
super clean.
But for me, my point is, you know, I think you're a really fun, approachable guy, but then also like, I'm really impressed with how well you kind of present yourself, you know, giving couples kind of that whole look of everything. So talk about kind of that view of all these things, and kind of how you look at that.
First of all, thank you. You know, that's really nice to say. So I have a business background. I went to business school. I studied marketing at business school. After business school, I worked for a company called BDA. They're a promotional merchandise company. Basically, what I did was I put logos on t-shirts, hats, keychains, bobbleheads. I worked for the pharmaceutical accounts. So we would, you know, I placed orders for 30,000 pens with a logo on it. Tons and tons of t-shirts and stuff like that. And what struck me is how stringent companies are when it comes to their brand guidelines. And that really stuck with me. And so when I started my business, that was something that really mattered to me, and something that I know it's not something you necessarily consciously think about as the consumer, but it's something that's there, you know? So it was really important to me that my logo and branding was really clean and that I appear pretty consistent. As far as having good videos and photos on my site, that's huge. The thing is, when you're picking a DJ, it's a little bit more difficult than picking some of your other vendors. You, for example, as a videographer, client, customer, potential customer goes to your site, they look at your videos and they see, wow, this is exactly what I'm getting. You're going to pick out your photos for a photographer. You go to the photographer's website. Do I like their style? Yes, I do. No, I don't. Make your decision, move on. Same thing with florists, same thing with cakes. When it comes to a DJ, so much of it is the personality, the way that they make you feel, like how they talk on a microphone. Less is visual. There's definitely what the setup looks like and stuff like that, which is very important. And some DJs have good photos of that and some don't. But for me, having a video on the site lets people kind of know who I am, what my personality is like. It shows me smiling and having a good time. And I think that's really important. And a lot of couples that I talk to specifically mention that, oh, we watched your video. This year, what I'm trying to do to that effect is I started creating these 1.5 minute, 2 minute little short Instagram little videos. I'm trying to do that for every single wedding I do, where it's just me kind of talking a little bit and maybe getting a little clip from different vendors, seeing what the wedding looks like, seeing what everything looks like, but it gives potential customers, potential clients more of an idea of who I am and what my personality is about.
Yeah, no, and not only, is it showing you but then like, you'll see like the couples dancing or whatever, but then you in the background,
right,
or other people having fun. And so it is more that like, because I do think, it should be really tied, the DJ, to the, obviously you can have a DJ that isn't, but I do think it's way more successful to have one that is personality kind of driven and tied to kind of that whole experience, right?
Oh yeah, dude, totally. I mean, if people are on the dance floor and they look up at me and I'm standing there straight-faced, not having a good time, not smiling, not dancing, the vibe sucks and people feel it, So I am constantly dancing behind the tables. I'm smiling. I'm pointing at people if they're looking at me, like I'm lip syncing, sometimes full on singing, having a good time, because people feed off my energy and I feed off their energy. And it is really important to have fun. And I think a lot of DJs or some DJs can be too cool for school. And that too cool for school mentality, like, it sucks, People don't want to see that. They want to have a good time. They want to know that you're having a good time. They don't want to look at the DJ and be like, oh, he's just at work. Nah, I'm not at work. I'm at your wedding. I'm having a party. I'm having a good time. And you can see it on my face.
Well, even like on there, I think it says like, dance your ass off on the dance floor. I don't know. I mean, even just a lot of like the wording and stuff you have on the site kind of evokes that kind of fun, right? Totally.
I think I have something like, what does it say? It says bang and dance floor.
That's what it is.
Bang and dance floor.
I knew it was something with the dance.
On my website, because yeah, dude, I'm gonna make your wedding dope. Like you're gonna have a bang and dance party. But I'm also eloquent, right? I want to make sure that when I'm on the microphone and that when I present myself at a wedding, at your wedding, that I'm professional also, because, you want good announcements, especially for the DJ. They're the face of your wedding. And I'm doing toasting and I'm introducing, the father of the bride and those types of things. So you don't want a clown on the microphone, but you do want someone that can bring the party. And when the party is happening, to have energy and excitement and smiles.
No, and I do think it is that tough line, because I do think you get some people that, like, it's too buttoned up, and then some people that it's like they don't even know who anybody even is that they're trying to. I had that. I mean, this was years ago now, but like he's getting ready to do. He's walking over to the bride. Okay, what's the mom's name? We got to. Like, how do you not even? I mean, basic stuff.
It's basic stuff. And so to that point, for me, when I book a couple, I have a very extensive wedding form that they fill out. So I know everybody's names. I know the best man's name. I know who's giving toasts. I know that if they're doing a cake cutting, but maybe they're not cutting a cake because they don't like cake, and instead they're going to have a Cinnabon bar. True story. I did have a couple that had their wedding catered by Cinnabon, and because that's what they were into. And hey man, that's cool, But if I make the announcement of, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the bride and the groom to cut the cake, when they're not cutting a cake, it's too formula. It's sloppy. So it is important to be prepared. And the way to be prepared is to have them fill out an extensive form, so I know all the information. So I don't have to ask the couple right before I'm going to make an announcement for them what their name is. That's just, that's amateur.
It's funny. But I mean, do you find... I guess so. I find I try to put forth a good front brand, but like I find that it almost seems to matter a little less nowadays. Like I always pay attention to that. Like I wish more people did, because I do see like other videographers over. It's like, oh, the last video was uploaded 8 years ago, or the things are misspelled, or I don't know. Do you find that people appreciate that and that your time is warranted?
Yeah, I think consistency is the biggest thing. I think personally, man, I think you're a testimonial to that, dude. Like, you're super consistent with your postings and your podcasts and that sort of a thing. And I think that's why, it's why you do so much business. We'll see about the new social videos that I'm doing. The thing with the wedding business, it seems like, is that it's a year later that you see the results. So I'm putting in a lot of work this year, but I'm probably not going to see those results pay off until next year, because most people now have booked their wedding. Maybe I'll book some later weddings or last minute weddings, and that will help. But most of it is referrals, is word of mouth. So you put work in now to basically increase your exposure. You're not going to see those results until the following year. So, have me back in a year and I'll tell you how it went.
That's awesome. So how did you so you said you started kind of brand corporate marketing.
Sure,
how did you find your way to kind of entering this world of weddings and kind of being that?
Great question. Yeah, dude. I mean, everybody's story right in this industry is probably somewhat scattered. I don't think a lot of people wake up, one day or are born and they're like, hey, I want to, be a florist or be a wedding planner or work in the industry somehow. Maybe some people do. I didn't. The story of how I basically became a DJ. I'm Jewish, first of all. And so when I was 13 years old, I had a bar mitzvah. And for those of you that may not know what that is, basically a bar mitzvah is the coming of age for a Jewish man or woman, bar or bat mitzvah. You're 13 years old, like you're a man at 13, right? No. But you are, and you have a big party, basically. You also have a whole like religious part, but then you have a big party. And so at this big party, the company that did the party was this company. And then when I graduated college, we had a grad night. The same company that did my grad night did my bar mitzvah. The same guy that hosted it, and so I approached him and I was like, hey, I think it'd be really cool to maybe work for you and maybe try to be a DJ. I was 18 years old. It wasn't something that I really had ever even thought about before that. But I just thought it could be fun. And I'm a fun guy. And, so he's like, great. So I ended up working for that company for a good 6 months after I graduated high school, and I started shadowing weddings. And I would go with another DJ, and I would basically be their helper and set up and watch some weddings. It's funny because I worked for this company for maybe 7 months. But I met a couple guys in the industry, and to this day, some of those guys, Braden, are like great friends of mine, Scott. And it's cool because I was 18 at that time. I'm 34 now. You do the math. That was a while ago. But these guys are still in the industry, still doing what they're doing. And so that was cool. So anyway, so that happened. I was working for them, quickly realizing that working for a big box DJ company was not very, frankly, lucrative. I wasn't making any money. I was doing a ton of work, but I wasn't earning any money. And I've always been very business minded, and I was like, man, I could probably do this, So I begged my parents to lend me like $500, or I had a little bit of spare money. And so I think I invested maybe $1,000 in not great DJ gear, but enough to be able to DJ. And so I did a friend's wedding at the Beaver Lake Lodge. And that was the very first wedding that I did. And I was like 19 years old, 18 and a half or something. So I just slowly started doing that. Very seldom, but I would do it once in a while. And then I started going to college, and I would do frat parties, and, I would make no money, but it wasn't about the money. It was just about having a good time at that point in my life. And so then after that, basically I started going to business school, and I was still kind of DJing here and there, but not really. I was more focused on school. I graduated, and then I was like, all right, I'm done being a DJ, got my business degree, nice little Jewish boy, time to go enter in the workforce. And so I did. I worked for a company called ADP. I did payroll sales, outside payroll sales. It was a great job. I had a company car, as a 22 or 23-year-old, I was making enough money to live. I had a nice apartment, but I was miserable. I would get up every morning and I would just not like my life trying to sell payroll services to small business owners. I was 22 years old. I was uncomfortable in a suit. I didn't know who I was. At 22, you don't know who you are or what you're trying to do in life. So I left that job and I started working for that promotional merchandise company I talked about. And that was just a lot of fun. I took a big pay cut, but the company culture was so much cooler, and I was enjoying it. And then a good friend of mine, Ron, came up to me and was like, hey, my sister's about to get married. I know you used to do weddings. What do you think? You want to DJ her wedding? I was like, nah, man, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I got my job, I'm doing my thing. And he's like, come on, do it. She would really like it. And so I thought about it and I was like, all right, I'll try it. So I used the money from that wedding and a little bit of spare money that I had to buy slightly nicer gear. And I did her wedding. And then I'd say over the next 4 years, I just slowly did weddings. I left that company, the promotional merchandise company, started working at Expedia in Bellevue. And I would, the very first year, I maybe booked 2 weddings. But by the 4th year, I had booked 15 weddings. And all of a sudden, I was making more money DJing than I was at my corporate job. And, I just didn't really fit the corporate mold. I kind of thought that I would, At one point, I decided I wanted to change my name to Dan instead of Danny because I thought it was more corporate. I don't know, man. So I had my business background, and I just slowly started building waSOUND. And, 8 years full-time DJ, 8 years later, here we go.
Was it scary to make that leap, or like you said, you had kind of built up that, but kind of leaving that comfort?
Yeah, of course. It was scary. The cool thing about the DJ business, specifically doing weddings, is that people book out far enough in advance to where you kind of know how much money you're making, sort of a thing. So you're able to plan a little bit better. It was scary for sure, because it's like, oh, here I did this whole path of what I thought my life was going to be like. And then all of a sudden I'm changing it up, and I'm changing it up to be a DJ. Really? I love it. I couldn't be happier. But for that first, year or 2 years, yeah, it was really scary because all of a sudden you got no health insurance. And, when you work at a 9 to 5 type job, you know how much money you're going to make every year. You know how much your paycheck's going to be every month. But as a DJ, you don't. Like, I could blow it out one year and do another 8 weddings and make extra money, or I could have a slower year and do 5 less weddings and lose more money than I thought I would have made. So there's all of that.
What was the reaction from like your family and friends and stuff when you...
They were actually super supportive. They knew I'd been hustling for a while. I was working 9 to 5, and some weekends I was doing 2 weddings. So that's 9 to 5, and then Saturday, Sunday, 12-hour days. And you go into work the next day, and appointments after my 9 to 5 job. I would walk, from Expedia in Bellevue. I'd walk down to the mall, and I'd have an appointment, and then I'd walk back up, and then I would get home till 8 o'clock. So everybody was pretty supportive. I've always had an entrepreneurial vibe. 5th grade, I was selling candy. I actually had, this is funny. I actually had one of the very first CD burners that you could get. I think I was in middle school, and I would make, don't tell the music industry, but I would burn CDs and sell them to people. I remember I burned Tupac's Greatest Hits one time, and I sold it to somebody, and so I don't know, man. Like, I've always had that vibe. And so my family and friends, they knew that about me, and they were actually super supportive, which at first when I was 18 and I told my mom and dad that I wanted to buy DJ gear, can I borrow $1,000? They were not as supportive, right? But I did well in business school, and my life was pretty good, pretty on track. So they, I guess, just kind of trusted my judgment.
Obviously you kind of probably were a little more equipped to start all this kind of with the business, background
Sure.
and stuff. I always say, like, I would have done anything to go back to school and, do anything than have a journalism degree, which does nothing for me anymore. Right. But, what were things that maybe you didn't anticipate, or that were harder than you thought, or scarier than you thought?
One thing that I didn't anticipate was, the toll it takes when you work Saturdays during the summer, as far as like hanging out with friends that work 9 to 5. People do things on the weekends because most people work 9 to 5. And so that was a little bit of a struggle, especially in relationships. If you're in a relationship with somebody that works 9 to 5, they want to hang out on the weekends, and they want to go to the festivals and the concerts or whatever it is. And it's tough when you're like, well, I can't do that because I work on Saturday or I work on Sunday. That was difficult. And that was something that I didn't really anticipate. I'd say the other thing is sometimes, people's perception of how you spend your time. I am self-employed and I work on the weekends, but that doesn't mean that I'm not working during the week. There's a lot that goes into running a business, especially when you talk about marketing and you talk about websites and you talk about accounting. As you know, when you're an independent business owner, you got to wear a lot of different hats. And so sometimes I would feel a little bit of, I don't know if pushback is the right word, but people's perception of, Danny's not working that hard kind of a thing. His life's so great and he's got so much free time. And it's like, not really. Like, you try running a business where you're supporting yourself and someone else and all this stuff. Like, there's a lot that goes into it that people don't necessarily see, so that can kind of be challenging sometimes.
Yeah, it's funny because we were, when Danny came here, we were looking at the deck here before we got started. We just had a new deck put on kind of at the end of the summer. And that was that perception of that contractor every day when he would come during the summer.
Right.
And I would be here. And that was literally his perception.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just hanging out here.
Yeah. What do you do when you're hanging out? You don't realize that, oh yeah, I got to actually edit these videos that I go shoot, I mean, I understand that even the small amount of video editing that I've done recently gives me more empathy and more perspective on you and other videographers, specifically video, how much time it takes to actually do that stuff and edit those videos and stuff. So yeah, man, he probably sees you just sitting on your computer thinking you're twiddling your thumbs on Facebook when really you're actually executing key business tasks that you need to do.
That's funny.
You know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, yeah, for the social thing, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, luckily, I had met Dorothy kind of before I started doing weddings, and I don't really have friends, so that I guess wasn't as big of a challenge. But no, I mean, it is really hard when like kind of all summer it's like, you know, can't do that or can't do that, you know, and you try to tell your friends that work 9 to 5, oh, why don't you just take Wednesday through Friday off? And people are like, no. Like, what do you mean? I have a job. Oh, yeah? Me too. So, yeah, dude, that's a struggle because most people don't have the schedule that we have. And so it's difficult sometimes, for sure. What do you enjoy most about kind of being self-employed and kind of running your own business? I mean, besides obviously the freedom to kind of build a schedule, but what do you enjoy about, you know, running a business?
I would say the best part about being self-employed, at least for me, is feeling like I don't need to fit into any particular mold. I can be myself and I can either get rewarded or not rewarded for those actions, and it's all on me. And I like that. It gives me full ownership of what I do. I also like that the harder that I work, the more money that goes into my pocket, you know, versus if I work really hard for somebody else, you know, my salary doesn't necessarily increase, or maybe it does, but it's just, it's different. So that's really nice. Although I think the coolest part about being an actual wedding DJ is that every day that I, you know, quote unquote, go to work, it's on the best day of somebody's life, right? And like as cheesy or whatever as that sounds, it's really cool. And people want you to succeed. They want to have fun. You go into work and it's a party, you know? Yes, there's stress involved because there's a lot of pressure. It's high stakes. Being a wedding, anything is high stakes, especially, you know, for you as a videographer, it's high stakes because if you don't get that shot, well, you're probably not going to get another opportunity to get that shot, right? You know, your memory card blows up. Uh-oh, you know, there's no redos in weddings. So there's definitely higher stakes and it can be stressful, but the payoff is so great. You know, never would I expect every single time I go into work, somebody comes up to me and says, you know, thank you so much. And it's so genuine. People are so genuine and they're so thankful for what I'm doing. And that feels really good. It's really nice. And it makes me really happy to get up and to go into work. And that's what allows me to be smiley and be bubbly and have fun, is because you're constantly getting so many warm fuzzies.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's what I've always said, you know, when I was in news and it was a lot of negativity, and just being able to go in and kind of be surrounded by like everybody's happy and kind of wants you to be there. Do you, and then obviously you do like corporate stuff as well. Do you enjoy kind of that mix and spicing that up, or how do you kind of balance that?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, doing corporate events is a lot of fun also. You know, maybe it's not the most important day of someone's life, but it's still a party. And the cool thing about corporate events is most people that attend a wedding or a corporate event, they're not people that go out, you know, 3 times a week or even maybe once a month to go dancing. How many times do you actually go out and go dancing unless that's something that you're really into? Most people, not very often. They go to maybe their friend's wedding or their annual company party or their husband's or wives' annual company party. And so it's their night out. Which is fun. People are having fun. I really enjoy the corporate stuff because of that. It's different. I can play some different music. You know, it's not focused on love, and dependent upon the company's culture and what the company is, the music and the vibe is a full spectrum. So yeah, corporate events are a lot of fun.
I wanted to talk about maybe something challenging about, being a DJ, kind of running that people don't think about. Maybe it could be like day of wedding stuff. But what is, something that you kind of is challenging for you that maybe people overlook or don't get as hard as it is?
Like specifically about weddings?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question. I want to say nothing's challenging, right? But of course, there are things that are challenging about the actual job itself. You just got to think things through, I think. Maybe at the beginning, there were things that seemed more challenging than others. For example, if, say a couple has their ceremony outside on the lawn, and then everybody comes in from the lawn and goes upstairs for dinner or for cocktail hours upstairs. And then they're going to want to go downstairs to the dinner room for dinner, but they want to have dancing in this other cool place. And that's happened sometimes. So that's 4 logistical locations for a wedding. That's a lot. So does that mean that we have 4 setups, or does that mean that we have 2 setups and move a setup? Well, what about microphones? We're doing toasting in the dinner area, but we got to make announcements for cocktails, and we also might need to make a couple announcements for dancing. Where's the cake cutting happening? I don't know, So yeah, like the logistical aspect can be challenging. Sometimes it's tough to know how to move people. People want to move at their own pace a lot of the times, especially if they're all talking and enjoying a cocktail together, but we're starting dinner in 15 minutes. Well, but there's a group upstairs that they heard the announcement. They heard me make the second announcement, but they don't necessarily want to move. And it's like, how do you approach them and respectively, very nicely let them know that, it's time to go downstairs for dinner? That can be challenging sometimes,
That's so funny because I attended a wedding. I guess it was 2 weeks ago now. For the first time, I hadn't attended a wedding in a long time, and I totally was like that guy that were like standing out. That there was kind of a bar area, and you had to kind of go through a passageway to the dinner. And they're like, "Oh, we're getting ready." And I was like, "I'm not ready for dinner yet.
I'm not ready yet," Or the toasting is happening, and you're in such a good mood because you haven't been out with your wife in X amount of years, months, whatever, and you guys are chatting and you're having fun and maybe you had a drink or two, so you're a little buzzy, but the father of the bride is giving a toast. So it's time to stop talking because I'm glad you're having fun, but like you're at a wedding and this wedding is about the couple. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes people are clueless to other things going on, and so how do you respectively tell someone that they need to stop talking because the father of the bride is on the microphone right now? That can be challenging. Kids can sometimes also be a challenging factor when they want to touch the lights and touch the gear. That's great. I love kids. I actually can't wait to have kids. I'll snuggle all of them, but don't touch my stuff. Like that's expensive.
Oh, I'll have like a camera sitting there on a tripod and like kids like running through the legs, and you're like, wow,
you're even more exposed to that because you're out there on the dance floor. Most of the time my stuff is, behind my table, and but you're like way out there. So what do you do?
Do you find, when couples are hiring DJs, so obviously, you do a lot of MC work, like you talk about like how your voice sounds on the microphone, how you look, how you present yourself. Do you find that couples that are hiring DJs, do they spend enough time thinking about those aspects of it? Or are they just thinking about like the music being played? Like, do they get how integral, like kind of the MC part is?
Some do and some don't. I'd say the ones that do are the ones that have maybe been to a wedding that hasn't had that. And that's kind of how a lot of people learn what's important and what's not important is seeing bad experiences. I can't tell you how many couples are like, oh, we just had it. I just went to my friend's wedding and their DJ sucked. And I always ask, well, what sucked? What about it? and it's either, well, he made no announcements. Nobody knew what was happening all night long. Here we are cutting the cake and nobody's paying attention. I'm doing a first dance and everyone's standing around talking. That's a really big thing. The other thing is that I hear a lot, and this is on the music side, is, well, he didn't play any of my requests, or he played a bunch of music that nobody knew. And I think some DJs can have the perception of, well, I'm the DJ, and so you hired me to play music, so let me do my thing. And it's like, well, like, man, you're not there for you. You're there for the couple. You're there for the couple's friends and family. So you want to play what they want to hear. And most people, they don't want to hear a bunch of club remixes, They want to hear the songs that they know and love because they want to sing them. And that's how people have fun, frankly. So definitely that.
Yeah, I had two questions about that. One was, how do you kind of balance that? Because like Dorothy, I requests all, we're at the wedding, she's requesting stuff, and like he's not playing it. What is that right balance between like, you obviously got to make sure the music is still there's a flow to it.
Absolutely. What you just described is probably one of the hardest, tougher aspects of being a DJ, specifically wedding or corporate event DJ, is because people will come up and they'll request a song, and sometimes it's great and you're like, yeah, that's perfect, I'm gonna play that right away. Other times people request a song that's maybe they love it but nobody else does, or they're requesting something that's just not going to fit for like 20 minutes. And people are like, well, why didn't you just play it? Just play my song. And it's like, well, okay, I will, but I'm playing like a hip hop type set right now, and you're requesting 70s or a slow song. And it's like, let me work into that. It can be difficult. And sometimes people just don't get it if you don't have a song. Most of the time I can connect to iTunes and I can download the song, but sometimes I can't. And then people ask, well, can't you just play it on my cell phone? And it's like, no, I can't. There's sound cards and there's audio interfaces and there's a lot going on that like you just don't really know about. And so it's not so easy as just plug my phone in, which is hard because you want to be nice. You have to be nice. But sometimes, especially people are drinking, sometimes they can be a little less understanding than I feel like they should.
Dorothy was like cruel. She was like, I just don't understand.
They're mad at me, and it's like, just trust me, But I actually always feel really bad if I don't get to play somebody's request that was like valid. Like I actually I've apologized to people after the event. I have, because I do feel bad, because I do want it to be fun for them. And I don't want them leaving with like a bad taste in their mouth that the DJ didn't play their song. He smiled and he said he would play it, but he never got around to it. And that sucks. Sometimes I just say I don't have it. I can't connect to the internet. If it's like a really poor choice, then I'm just like, look, I'm sorry, I don't have that. Or I'll just look at the person. If I feel like I can be kind of cool with them, I might just look at them and be like, man, I can't play that. Like, I would love to, but look who's here. Like, I can't play your 2 Chainz song. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then I wanted to also talk about, and even on your website, talking about like playing some of the hits and getting some of the people out of me. Like, I know some DJs that are like, I will never play that. Like, I don't play whatever it is. I mean, what do you think about all that?
I think that goes to that too cool for school mentality, It's not about what I want to hear. It's about what they want to hear. I split up the dancing into kind of 2 sections. I call it Open Dance 1 and Open Dance 2. I would say Open Dance 1 is designed to get everybody on the dance floor. It's the wedding classics. Billie Jean, Brown Eyed Girl, Shout, Love Shack, Footloose, whatever. Like those types of songs. Basically, my goal during that time is to get everybody on the dance floor. And I always say to the brides and grooms, your mom's there, your grandma's there, and they want to dance at least one dance at their daughter or son's wedding. So generally Open Dance 1 is how we start the dancing. When we open up the dance floor, we try to get everybody dancing for at least for a little bit. So I'll pay attention who's on the floor. I'll sprinkle slow songs in. I'll try different genres. Maybe I'll play a disco track. Maybe I'll play Saturday Night Fever. I don't know. I definitely am not like, I won't not play Celebration. You know what I mean? Like, I'll play whatever they want. Generally speaking, I won't go to those. Like, I'm not going to probably play the YMCA unless you request it and you tell me you kind of want that. And then I know, oh, all right. Like, if you want the YMCA, then you also want We Are Family probably. And you want Celebration, you might even want the Macarena kind of a thing. So I'll get an idea for, quote unquote, the cheese level. Right. But I think that people want to hear the songs that they know and love. So I don't ever like not play something. I just think that that's a too cool for school vibe, So generally we'll open up the dance floor with Open Dance 1. Typically that'll last about an hour, maybe 45 minutes, maybe half an hour. It just depends on who's on the dance floor, what the vibe is like, what's happening. And then as the night progresses, we'll go into Open Dance 2. I always say to Open Dance 2, to the bride and the groom, this is for you guys, for your friends, your bridal party, the people that are there that might be drinking a little bit, that kind of want to have a good time. Generally, Open Dance 2 is a lot of throwback jams, It's stuff that you heard in high school. It's Backstreet Boys set, It's Spice Girls Wannabe, Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It. Hella Nelly, right? Who doesn't love Nelly? But it's stuff like that. Maybe some Britney. Basically, it's for them. Some couples, though, they really like EDM or they want maybe more top 40. I had a couple that was really into trap music one time. And so they gave me a bunch of trap songs to play. I'm playing Trap Queen. I'm playing Fetty Wap at someone's wedding. And normally I don't think I would like go to play that, but it's what they wanted. So that's the type of people that they were. That's the type of vibe they wanted to have. And man, they got down. Like them and their friends, they got down. And it was fun. So yeah, I think it's about playing what people want to hear. I mean, it sounds simple, but frankly, it is simple. But that's the biggest thing. Although to your point earlier, that's where that preparation comes in, right? As Russell Wilson says, right? The separation is in the preparation, man. So the separation is in the preparation. Basically means that's what's going to separate good DJs from bad DJs. How much prep are you doing? How much information do you have? Did you meet with the couple? Did you talk to them about what kind of music they like? Do you know the relationship between the friends? Can you maybe say something about that at some point throughout the night? That's where that stuff really plays in. If you don't know what the couple likes or wants to hear, it's much harder to find the right groove. You might get there eventually. You might try 2 songs in one genre, song in another genre, song in another genre. You might go through 4 different genres of music until you figure out what people want to hear. And then if you hit them with too much of what they want to hear, they don't want to hear it anymore. So you got to switch it up, but you got to know where to switch it up to.
I remember when you were talking about the throwbacks and stuff, and when it was like when I started hearing like the Backstreet Boys and stuff, and I was like, I feel so old.
Yeah,
these are like the throwbacks.
God, dude, tell me about it, man.
That like Backstreet Boys gets like the biggest pop on the dance floor, and you're like, wow.
Backstreet Boys. If you play Everybody's Back, right, where it's everybody. That song, people go nuts to, and they're dancing out there. I mean, you remember that music video, right? With he was like a werewolf and shit, like, that, or In Sync, Tearing Up My Heart, right? With JT, like before he was JT kind of a thing. And he had the hair that looked like ramen noodles and stuff. Like he's on the chair and, he's pointing and shit like that. That's what people love, frankly. So I play that stuff. It does make you feel old, but hey, man, age is just a number, dude.
What do you wish more people like maybe ask kind of in the booking process when it comes to DJs, whether it's ask DJs, like what do you wish more people knew and thought to ask?
I don't know. That's a hard question because I tend to, give people a ton of information. I always say after I'm done with my meeting. So when I meet with couples for the first time, I'll go through an initial wedding consultation meeting, sort of a thing. And basically what we do is I walk over the wedding itinerary lines. So like I'll walk over the timeline, so to speak, talk about how I break the music up into kind of 5 sections throughout the night, talk about the different music that goes on in each section. I always stress to them that this is just generally what I do, generally what I play. The flow is just kind of a general template. I'm going to do whatever you want and I'm going to play whatever you want. But in order to make the timeline of the reception seem a little bit more manageable, I'll break it into 5 main sections. So the first section is going to be your pre-ceremony music. Generally, I always tell people, you want your ceremony, you want your music to start 30 minutes before you say your ceremony is going to start. Typically, that's when guests will arrive. So first section of music, pre-ceremony music. Again, I'll play whatever they want, but I always think it's nice with music without words. I love Vitamin String Quartet, Piano Guys, stuff like that. After the ceremony is over, will be cocktail hour. That's the second style phase of music, cocktail hour. And again, different people want different things. But generally, I have a really nice playlist called the Modern Wedding Playlist. A lot of female vocalists, Colby Clay, Ingrid Michaelson, maybe some Michael Bublé, maybe some Jack Johnson. Just chill music going on, People are drinking their cocktails. It's background stuff, but it's nice. It's wedding vibe. Third style of music, dinner music. Dinner music, basically the same thing as cocktail music, maybe a little bit more upbeat. I like to weave in some classic rock like Tom Petty or the Stones, stuff like that. But some people want something totally different. And I split it up into these sections because some people are like, well, Danny, I really like Sinatra during cocktails, but we're 90s kids and we want 90s hits during dinner. Awesome. Who doesn't want to hear like Alanis Morissette during dinner? Like, that's great. And I'll do that for you, right? So that's the first 3 sets of music. And then, there's some formalities, toasting, cake cutting, the first dance, that sort of a thing. But once we kind of open up the dance floor, then I get into those other 2. Open dance 1 for everybody, and then open dance 2 for the bride and the groom and the wedding party and stuff like that. So I really try to make it manageable for them, kind of a thing, and to split the music up into all these sections. And that's what I talk about during my initial wedding consultation.
It's so funny when you're talking about kind of like the couple and they want the Sinatra and all that, because I think that's one of those things I learned planning the wedding, because it sounds so weird because like obviously like music is such a big part of like our lives, society, culture, everything, music for thousands of years. But then, like we were getting ready for our wedding and you're like, well, I don't know if I care or not. Well, Dorothy really cared about, she had like the list and the order and exactly how, and it's so funny for like someone that I didn't think she would care about that at all. And that was like a huge thing that she spent like hours trying to figure out.
Yeah. And you just never know. That is one of those things where couples are on a spectrum. And some couples I'll meet with, I'll go over my stuff. I'll talk about the general stuff that I do and play. And they say, you know what, Danny, we've been to 4 other weddings that you've done. That sounds great. Do it. Do your thing. They might have a couple requests. Obviously they're going to know what their first dance and their formal stuff is, but they might not have very many other requests. And then on the other side of the spectrum, I've had people that give me a playlist for cocktails, a playlist for dinner, a playlist for, open dance 1 and open dance 2. And they tell me, well, just play songs on this list. That is difficult as a DJ. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do what you want me to do. You're paying me. This is your wedding. This is your event. Most people fall somewhere in the middle, right? But yeah, it's one of those things where you just don't know. You don't know. A lot of people care about very specific stuff and some people don't.
But it is amazing just, I don't know, just how, like you say, integral like music is. And you just don't really get until, you've been obviously do what you do or been to weddings and stuff, like kind of how important that is kind of for the flow and everything. Yeah.
Well, like a typical wedding is, anywhere from 5 to 7 hours. How are you going to fill up 7 hours of music? Like, it's daunting to think about, right? But then you break it into those sections and it makes it a little bit more manageable because you can kind of feel the vibe, right? What kind of vibe do you want for your cocktail hour? What kind of vibe do you want for your dinner? What is important to you for dancing? Do you want throwback jams? Do you want top 40? Maybe you don't want to hear Michael Jackson anymore, can't play Michael Jackson, can't play R. Kelly anymore. So these types of things are important to talk about and to understand what the couple wants. Music is really important. I mean, soundtrack of our lives, is the songs. You hear a song, and I think music, behind smell, music and songs are one of the things that jog memory. You hear a song and it instantly takes you back to a certain time in your life or a certain place, right? And so this is your wedding, right? You're going to have a couple moments that you're going to remember that's going to be like engraved in your mind. And you're going to know what song was happening while that was going on. So it is important, super important.
Kind of rounding out here the conversation, where do you see, obviously someone, image focused brand, kind of marketing, corporate, where do you see, yourself going in the next couple of years besides obviously getting married, but where do you kind of see yourself taking things and where would you like to go?
So I would like to, continue to do more weddings. I recently, maybe 5 years ago, I added a photo booth. So that's been great. I've been continuing to kind of expand the gear and the stuff that I have. So my goal is to basically continue to kick ass, continue to do more weddings, get more good reviews, and, just add more events to the book. Basically, I'm going to be moving at some point, getting married, buying a new house, with my new wife, and maybe have kids in the next couple years. So that's a big thing that, as far as life goals that I'm thinking about. But yeah, man, as far as business goes, just to do more events, increase the business.
What do you do when you're not DJing, planning weddings, running business, making coffee cups? What do you do to fill that extra 1% of the time?
So, I got a golden retriever and I love taking him to the dog park. I love spending time, with my girl, of course. She's my best friend and that's really nice. I really like cooking, I get down in the kitchen. Just last night I made the whole chicken in the Instant Pot. This is the very first time I ever cooked a whole chicken before. And so that was actually a lot of fun. I mean, you can go get these rotisserie chickens, but you can spend the same money to get a raw, organic, free range, happy chicken that you spend for a rotisserie chicken. And so I just cooked it myself, right? And that was a lot of fun, dude. We do Blue Apron sometimes. So that's fun to get the meal kits and the cook food. I do really enjoy cooking quite a bit. I got into some video and photography type work too. I've always been super creative and it's one of the things that I would like to incorporate into my life later as I get older. And, I can only DJ for so long kind of a thing. And there's other things that I want to do that I'm interested in. And so I'm definitely into photography. I just bought that little mini video camera that I was going to talk about earlier. So it gives me appreciation for what you do as I'm trying to figure out how to use Adobe Premiere. What the hell am I doing? Kind of a thing. It doesn't look nearly as good as your stuff, right? But I'm amateur, man. I don't know. So yeah, those are kind of some of my hobbies. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love the cooking. Dude. And obviously the chicken worked out if you're still sitting upright today.
Oh, dude, It was so good. Ate too much of it. So good, though. Had a delicious rub on it. So tasty chicken. Succulent and delicious.
This has been great. If people want to learn more about you and your services, DJ, photo booth, uplight, all that, your wonderful personality, what would you have them check out?
So they can go to my website, www.wasound.com, WASOUND. You can Google my name, Danny Goldfarb. You can Google waSOUND. You can ask lots of wedding vendors because I've been in the business for almost 10 years now. And people know who I am. So yeah, just find me online, right? Find me on Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's been great to catch up, and I'm excited to get you on, and it's been good to kind of see you again. So
pleasure's all on this side of the table, Reed. It has been fantastic talking to you and meeting your lovely dog and hanging out in your cool West Seattle pad. So yeah, dude, pleasure's all mine, bro.
If you're a wedding vendor interested in participating in an upcoming episode, I have a great link. If you go to bestmadevideos.com/podcast guest, that's a great way. I didn't make you fill it out because I know who you are, and then we work together.
I just hit you up on the DM.
Yeah, just say, hey man, when are we doing this? And like and subscribe. If you see this on Facebook, if you see it on iTunes, you can send us a review. You can also go to bestmadevideos.com/subscribe. That's also a great way to do that. So we're getting into year 2 here officially. So good things come to those who wait. And I waited a year for you to come into my life here and be on the podcast. So
shut up.
This has been another episode of Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. Check back next week for another wedding vendor interview. Thanks so much.